Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Talented Learning Executive Briefing Series. This is my favorite series of content because we get to travel the world virtually and review and learn about and see demonstrations of the world's best learning systems, learning management systems, and learning systems in general. And today is no different. We have Graham Glass, CEO of Cypher Learning here today to tell us about Cypher and their products in the learning technology space. Graham, it's all you. Welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot, John. It's always great to be here on your show. Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of an update. One of the things that we've done recently is we've launched a brand new website, which is really showcasing our vision of learning platforms and where we think they are going. In a previous lifetime, we would have a separate website for Neo LMS, which is our LMS for K-20. We had a separate website for Matrix LMS, which is our LMS for business, and a separate one for Indie LMS, which is for individuals. Under the hood, they're all the same platform. We don't actually have three engineering teams, but it's a multi-market sector products and strategy. So one of the things that we did after receiving a sizable investment last year is we've managed to unify everything. So there is now a single cypherlearning.com site, which says the world's best intelligent learning platform. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Intelligent Learning Platform, or ILP as we just call it internally, in just a minute. So the nice thing now, I think for our customers and analysts, etc., it's going to be much more obvious what our company does. We're really a learning platform company, cypherlearning.com, and everywhere that you go, you're going to see Cypher Learning more than a particular product name. Oh, so, and it's a worldwide company. So the site is in Brazilian and French and German and most languages you can think of. But I'll tell you a little bit about why we're using the term intelligent learning platform. So we see there being three fairly distinct phases in the lifetime of what we now maybe call LMS or learning platforms. There was the early phase, which is the bread and butter phase, where people are like, I just want to create a course, enroll people in a course. They take the course, maybe they get a certificate, and we're done. And then, 10, 15 years ago, if you looked at some of the companies out there, that was really the core functionality, what they did. And then people began to realize there's a lot more to it than that. Like, how do we make these platforms more engaging? How do we make them more dynamic? How do we make them more personalized? And also, how do we make them more beautiful? Because frankly, a lot of the older platforms were pretty miserable in terms of their user interface. And I will say, just as a fun aside, when we were ATD a few months ago, people came up to us and say, you guys have the most beautiful learning platform. And I was joking with my team, and that is maybe we should change our moniker to Cypher Learning, the world's prettiest LMS.
You guys are pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty.
But it does actually matter. So what happened is what I think of the second evolution of the learning platforms. The first one was more focused on the management. But people started even moving away from the term LMS because it sounded a little bit too boring. So we used to be the world's best learning platform. And the idea there is you create courses still, but you have adaptive learning. You can personalize them dynamically. You can use automation to take twists and turns as the course is going. We have gamification, so you can get points and badges for hitting certain milestones in your course. And that was a whole level of additional functionality that allowed educators, such as myself. I've taught thousands of people personally over the years, so I kind of know how important this stuff is. So we started moving away from LMS and saying this is an advanced learning platform. And that's what we see as being kind of the second stage of the evolution of learning platforms. But we think now we're entering the third stage, which is where these platforms get a lot smarter and proactive and essentially become your learning assistant. So, you imagine whether you're a child at K-12, you're a college student, or you're an employee at a large, Fortune 500 company, ideally the platform actually helps you to get better at things you're weak at, make suggestions about alternative courses that you might like. And, this kind of functionality is not revolutionary. It's already on Amazon. Like, Amazon's constantly trying to sell me stuff. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like the shopping assistant. And we just think these learning platforms are going to become much more proactive. So in the latest version of our system, and we're just entering into beta with our customers, it'll go into production very soon, we've got some really unique features. So for example, one new feature is called learning goals. And what you can do is you can tell the system, I want to get good at a particular job, or I want to get good at a particular set of competencies. It might be grade 1 biology if you're at a university. It might be I want to get good at one specific competency, like I want to get good at photosynthesis. And once the system knows your learning goals, then it will start automatically giving you recommendations. And those recommendations are not just take this course, they're like join this group of people because there are other people with those skills in those group. Or here's a particular video on a third-party site that you might enjoy taking. So that's part of our rollout. You know, some people call that skills development. But I will say that that kind of proactive recommendation, we're putting under a bigger umbrella. And we're saying that's the umbrella of the intelligent learning platform. So if there's a lot of AI-powered features that we're coming out with later on this year, they're not specific to skills development, but we still put them in the bucket of intelligent learning platform. So in a nutshell, you know, the latest incarnation of the company is more unified. We're still very international, 20 different countries I think we're in right now, but we're trying to constantly raise the bar in terms of the sophistication and innovation in our platform. But it's still the prettiest.
It has been. I think that's what we called it on our last review.
I think we actually have another user interface upgrade coming that's going to make it even prettier.
Nice. Now, if I remember correctly, Graham, what you do personally is still take some time every day to click through the different parts of the application and make suggestions and think about how you can improve it. You're just constantly in that state of review as your baby for a long time now. Yeah,
because you know there's different kinds of CEOs. There are CEOs who are primarily salespeople who are just that's how they rose up the ranks to become a CEO. There are some that are marketing people. I'm definitely a product CEO or an engineering CEO. So my background is very strong in education, which is why I started the company, but also very strong in computer science. That's all of my academic credentials, and previous companies were all high-tech innovators. So yeah, I'm passionate about the product. And as you mentioned, every single day I'm thinking about ways to improve it in multiple dimensions.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to see your hands-on nature. We just published a post today on AI in learning management systems.
Oh, great.
We referenced you because of your work, but you just caught my attention here on the AI features that are coming down the pike. Do you want to give a little preview of share a little preview of what you're building?
Yeah, are you talking about doing a demo or just talking?
Yeah, no, just talking about just telling us the application.
Yeah, so I would say like the number one focus of the first iteration of features is recommendations. Mm-hmm. And there's different ways to do recommendations. You can have recommendations based on automation or recommendations based on artificial intelligence. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to try and understand the user's goals or intentions, as some people say. And then based on those goals, you want to start making recommendations. And it's a really tricky area because everyone's got their different idea about what kinds of recommendations they actually want the system to give them in the first place. Mm-hmm. So some people say, I want very tight control over recommendations. Like you can only recommend courses within my university or within my business. Some people might say, well, I want you to be able to recommend courses and social learning groups and resources. And I want you to base them based on just what's going on in our company or based on the learner's goals or what you see across your entire user base. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we try to do is to make our recommendations engine highly configurable. So each individual customer can control what kinds of recommendations are being generated. But in addition to that, there's some really cool innovations, even in the first version of our ILP feature set. So for example, let's just say that you have 10 people within a company, let's say McDonald's, because McDonald's is a customer of ours out in Australia. And let's just say 10 people in their company say, one of my goals is to get really good at running a franchise. So there might be a job title within our system, franchise owner, and associated with that particular title, there might be 30 different competencies. Now, I'm also going to take a very quick detour to say, we believe in fine-grain competency-based learning, which is a big differentiator between us and other companies. So there are other products where you can say, I just want to get good at marketing, and it just feeds you marketing stuff, and that's pretty much all it does. Mm-hmm. But what we want to do is we want to say, here are the 30 specific competencies that you should have running a franchise, and you're going to be able to assign questions in question banks to evaluate those competencies. You're going to create specific videos or modules to teach those competencies, so that once you actually start making recommendations, it's not just marketing, it's like how to set up legal title XYZ in starting a franchise. And that's a huge differentiator. I think we're actually the only company that's decided to go very fine-grained competencies. So going back to originally, so you say, I want to do this particular goal. So they can then, a goal will now appear in their dashboard, as I'll show you in a demo, show you the status of the goal. If you click on that, there's actually a dashboard for that goal. And one of the tabs is actually a Q&A forum where you can interact with other people who have the same goal. So if there's 10 people in a particular company that have that goal, they can go to the Q&A forum, post a question, and anybody else who has the same goal can then answer that question. And of course, it's gamified. So if you post a question, you get a certain number of points. If you get a winning answer to that question, you get a certain number of points. So we want some social interaction. And the cool thing about that forum is that it's scoped. So you can say the only people who you can interact with are people in your organization, but you can configure it to say, hey, you can actually interact with anybody else who opens the scope. Mm-hmm. So some companies or some universities might only have a Q&A group within people in their organization, but others might say, hey, I'm going to throw it open to the global community. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring together like-minded people with the same goals so they can encourage each other and interact, as well as do the standard kind of tracking of competencies and mastery.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fun.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Boy, that's fun. That's fun. 30 years ago, we were talking about integrating skills and competencies and questions and content all together like you're doing in that micro way. You know, that was what us instructional designers were all theorizing about. And but it took 30 years for technology to finally catch
actually,
up.
I mean, I used to talk about this kind of stuff back in college, and but it really takes a long time to get there because there's so many details along the way.
Yeah.
People won't buy this kind of stuff unless it has a really deep, comprehensive, full set of traditional features. So if you want to get to that climbing Everest, not only do you have to build the peak part of Everest, but you've got to build like a mountain as it goes, which is why it does take a while.
How about it? That's a good way to look at it, because you see a lot of specialty systems come out, or I see a lot of specialty systems that do a little piece of innovation to peak at Everest really well. But the problem is you still need an LMS. Yeah, and people really organization needs twice. You know,
and they don't really want to do two platforms that can help.
Two platforms for sure.
There are some other pretty cool business updates.
Please.
I might have mentioned last time, but one of the latest customers of Neo is the country of Qatar. Right. So now we've actually got an entire country as a customer, which is really cool. Wow. And they're very, very innovative, by the way. There's a lot of features that they've really pushed us on to raise the bar. So, for example, gamification. There's a lot of competitors of ours where their definition of gamification is when you complete a course, you get a badge, and that's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. Now, in our system, we've got a general automation area where you can automate when X happens, do Y, almost anywhere. And so our gamification is driven by automation. So you can say, when you take this quiz, if you get over 80, you get 100 points. When you finish this module, you get a badge. When you complete the course, you get a certificate and we put you in another course. So you can create really rich stuff. But one of the things they said is, well, what about, with Duolingo? One of the nice things with Duolingo gamification is that even if you're a brand new member, you can still effectively compete. It's not like because you joined a year later, everyone's like 1 million points ahead of you, which we thought was a really good idea. So actually later this week, we're releasing Duolingo style gamification where you can configure it that every week or every month, it will reorganize all the people who are competitors into new buckets, and then you can freshly start competing all over again. So there's just an example of one where it was actually a customer, in this case, the country of Qatar, that was promoting this, and we thought, hey, that's a great idea. So That's another really, really good distinguishing feature of ours. We've got really superb gamification.
Outstanding. Outstanding. All right, enough talk. We got to see this. Everybody's dying.
Okay, I've got it here. Okay, so whenever you're ready, John, we can kick it off.
Let's kick it off. Let's see it.
Super. Okay, well, I'm going to go and demo the Cypher Learning platform to you. In this particular demo, I'm going to use Matrix, which is targeted for businesses, but there's almost no difference in terms of the underlying feature set between Matrix and Neo for people who are watching who are at universities. There's a terminology difference. So in Matrix, we use learners. In universities and schools, we use students, or courses versus classes, but very little difference. The other thing is that it's very configurable. So universities will typically turn on a certain set of features and turn off a certain others. So depending on your use case, you just select the features you want. So what we're looking at right now is the visitor portal, which is what you see before you log in. And it's worth noting, you can have a very simple login box if you want to, which is what most of our competitors do. You can organize single sign-on, or you can actually create a beautiful drag and drop site. So you can click through the course catalog. If you want to sell courses through the course catalog as a visitor, you can do this. These are all completely configurable features. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to log in as an administrator, just to give you an idea of the power of the Cypher Learning platform. And then after I've done that, I'm going to switch into the learner view so you can see what it looks like. The entire site is responsive. So this will look great on an iPad, on an iPhone, on an Android device. And we've got free downloadable native apps that you can use to access the site as well. So when you first log into the system, the first thing you're going to see is the home dashboard. And we have a highly configurable drag and drop dashboard builder. So you can easily configure exactly what widgets you want to appear. If you want to reorganize them, you can. It's a very, very easy thing to set up. So here are all the widgets that are available. And notice you can embed reports, you can embed competency-based learning. If you're a school, you can have the children of the parents. It's a really powerful kind of setup. But the general idea is when you come to the dashboard, at a glance, you can see latest news, the courses that you're teaching, the courses that you are enrolled in, courses that are necessary for compliance. This cool new widget, this is the Intelligent Learning Platform first set of features, is something called Learning Goals that I'm going to show you in a little bit. This, in the world of K through 20, this is unique. To the best of our knowledge, Neo is the only platform in the world that actually supports learning goals. And then scrolling down further, you can see the status of your mastery if you're into competency-based learning and other bits and pieces. There's a lot of things that we do to try and help people collaborate. You can see which people are online. You can have live chats with them. We integrate with 10 different or 8 different video conferencing systems. So it's not a closed platform. You can actually integrate to do lots of different things using our system. For those of you who kind of like the Facebook style, there's a very nice integrated news feed here. A lot of universities in the Philippines use this as their early warning system. So it's highly reliable. They'll send out an announcement to 80,000 students that says, warning, typhoon is coming. And then Neo does its job and alerts 80,000 students within a few seconds. So this is the dashboard. I'm not going to go into every single thing down here because there is a lot. But I will say it's got built-in state-of-the-art ad hoc reporting system. So you can slice and dice data and generate graphs and charts and CSV outputs without having to purchase a third-party tool. And I want to underscore for those people who are K through 20, it's really, really rare for an LMS to have built-in ad hoc reporting. To the best of our knowledge, Neo is the only system that actually has that built in, both for administrators and for instructors. We've also got collaboration groups. So if I want to create a social group outside of a course, you can create groups. And these groups are very advanced. They've got their own built-in dashboards, analytics, calendars, you name it. It's a really powerful collaboration tool. But of course, since it's an LMS, we're going to focus primarily on the courses aspect. So before I go into a course and give you a little tour about that, I do want to kind of show off one little thing, which is the App Center. So if I go into the admin area, which is a collection of widgets that only the administrator sees, you scroll down here, you'll see this is the App Center, and it's telling me that I've installed 78 plugins, and there are 7 currently not installed. And I'm just going to give you an idea of the range of integrations, because there are a lot of people who go, well, it's a really pretty interface, but do you have the range of integrations that some of the older companies have? But I'm not going to go through them all because there's a lot. But if I just scroll down, it'll just give you an idea of the number of integrations that we have in this system. It just goes on. I'm not even halfway down the list right now. And we constantly add new integrations, but generally speaking, when people want to integrate our platform, they find that we already integrate with whatever system they need. Okay, so now I want to kind of go into a course, because that's kind of like the bread and butter, so to speak, of a learning platform. So when you're an instructor, if you go to the course, the first thing you'll notice is a dashboard. So as you can tell, we're really into drag and drop widget-based dashboards. So if I'm an instructor, it's incredibly nice. I can customize my own dashboard. I can see the number of learners of my course over time, like in the last week or in the last month. I can create my own custom ad hoc reports as an instructor and then embed them into my dashboard. So this is showing me a breakdown of all the courses that I'm teaching. I can see the change in grades over time. Competency-based learning, the change in mastery over time. This is really, a pretty incredible thing for an instructor to see. And to the best of my knowledge, I know I keep on saying this, Neo is the only K-12 LMS that has a dashboard builder. So it's another pretty big differentiator.
This is awesome, Graham. This is just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's thank you. I agree.
I bet you do. That's great, man.
And part of our philosophy, by the way, as far as the features and functionality is, we want to provide instructors with a bag of tools. Because I was an instructor, I used to teach computer science at University of Texas, Dallas. And depending on your teaching style, depending on your audience, depending on the course you're teaching, you may or may not need things like a wiki, built-in chat rooms, weblogging, e-commerce support, gamification. So basically, when you set up your course, it'll actually ask you, which features do you want to enable? And you can just go click, 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 click on a per course basis and set up your course just as you like it. You can reorganize the navigation, you can customize a lot of different things. So first of all, you see your dashboard. You can see groups that are local to the course. You can set up a welcome page, but the modules area is really kind of the core. And the modules, which are known as lessons in the world of K-12, are where you put your primary learning content. Each module will typically be made up of 1 or more sections, and there are a wide variety of sections to choose from. So in this particular case, I've got a collection of 12 modules. And I mentioned, we try to make a very pretty LMS, or like the Apple of LMS. So everywhere you go in our system, it's going to look like this. It's going to be highly graphical. It's going to be a pretty clean design. And, I've done everything in dark mode. If I can switch it, here's light mode version. So I work all day long behind my computer, so I kind of prefer dark mode. But here are the modules. And as you can see, these modules, this one's got 4 sections. It normally takes 1 hour, 40 minutes. And it has quite a lot of features enabled. This means it awards a badge. This one, it means points. This one means that it's aligned with competencies. If I go into a particular module, in this particular case, we get this really nice pop-out table of contents that shows me exactly where I am in the course. You can get rid of it if you want to. And these are the 4 sections that are currently set up. So this particular section is a page of HTML content. This is a written assessment, because this is, we want something a bit more than just a quiz. This is a score module, and this is a survey. And just to give you an idea of the range of sections in a course, there are so many, we actually have to tab them. So as you can see, SCORM, HTML packages, H5P, that's another emerging standard, files, web sources, LTI tools, and then we have 13 different kinds of built-in assessments, and then you can extend the assessment type with LTI. Now, one of the things I want to mention just in passing, John, is one of the things that gives us a really big competitive advantage in both K through 20 and in business is for Cypher Learning to beat the best known companies in both spaces. It has to have the best features for businesses and the best features for K through 20. So for us to compete in the business market, we've got to have ad hoc reporting. But because of that, when we demonstrate our system to K through 20, they're quite amazed because they've never seen ad hoc reporting before.
Interesting.
And similarly, most business systems only support like a quiz and a survey, or maybe a written test. And most of them don't align with competencies, for example.
Or LTI.
Whereas in the case of Neo, look, quizzes, written assignments, offline ones, surveys, discussions, debates. These ones are what you might call group assessments that bring groups of people together. And we're finding these assessments are really popular in the world of business. So I'll give you an example. We use our own matrix system for Cypher Learning. So we actually have a site, I'll show it to you right now, skills.cypherlearning.com. And this is the site that we use for all of our internal training. And we have set up automation so anyone who joins automatically gets put in the appropriate organization. They're automatically enrolled in the course, which is Welcome to Cypher Learning, with a video by me, welcome to all the different departments. But one of the things we do is we have a discussion assessment that in order to pass it, you have to post a fun fact about where you live. And so we hire people all over the world. Some guy will say, hey, check out the view out of my window in Peru. Or I will say, hey, check out, this is where I live here's the Golden Gate Bridge. So you might think, oh, who cares about group assessments? But businesses do. It's actually a great way to bring people together. And I'm getting alerts from all the other people who are onboarding, learning all about what kind of things they're interested in. And I will say a lot of people post about their cats. This is a little bit of a data point. So what you do is you create a whole section of a whole series of sections in a module. But even with the module, you can control who can see the module, whether it's required or not, the estimated time. You can use automation to decide what happens when this module is completed. You can use automation to automatically hide or show advanced modules or remedial modules. You can configure competency-based learning to automatically make recommendations if you're falling behind in a certain competency. So even though at first glance it looks pretty standard, hey, you've got modules and other modules, you've got sections, there is a tremendous amount of sophisticated but easy to use features under each of these layers. So what you do is you set up all these modules, you set up all the rules and the automation. You can set up games. So here's a cool game that I set up and I can see how everyone's doing in my game. We have team games. So if you want the sales team to compete against the marketing team in the onboarding course, it's really easy to do that. And once you've set everything up to your satisfaction, at that point, your learners can enroll. And they can enroll through access codes, through automation, through bulk upload, through SIS integration, through CSV upload. There's 10 different ways for people to actually get into courses. But like I say, one of the most common use of automation in courses in businesses is onboarding, because it's such an important thing to quickly onboard people, get them used to the culture of the company. And then depending on their department, there might be 3 other courses like welcome to technical support, welcome to advanced technical support, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. The nice thing is, we eat our own dog food, so to speak. We use our system every day and we're constantly finding new ways to improve it, but it really is helping our own business. Great. For those people K through 20, I know the gradebook is super duper important. I know it's not a sexy feature, but it's really important. So we've got a state-of-the-art, highly responsive gradebook with all kinds of features that I don't even have enough time to go into. The sheer amount of effort that went into this one feature is actually kind of astounding when I look back on things. So a tremendous amount of functionality in the bread and butter. As I mentioned, even things like collaboration groups are state-of-the-art. I'm not aware of any LMS anywhere that has group dashboards, group automation, any of this kind of level of functionality. And this is actually, I'm not going to give it away, maybe the next time we chat, the group functionality is actually going to be very key to a new feature we're going to be releasing in a few months' time. So it's not a coincidence. The last main thing I really want to, actually two main things I want to cover. First thing is learning goals. So I mentioned that this is a really strategic release for us. It's in beta. It's going to go into production very soon. But under the courses, we have this new widget called goals. And the general idea is that goals represent things that you want to get good at. And behind the goal is always competencies. So competencies are kind of currency of knowledge. So whether it's a job title that requires these competencies, whether it's a curriculum in K through 20 that has these competencies, ultimately, if you say one of my goals is digital marketing, I can click on this goal and it will say, here are all the competencies associated with digital marketing. And I do want to mention that in the world of business, this is a big conceptual differentiator in that we're a big believer in fine-grained competencies. It's not like I want to get good at marketing. It's I want to get good at how to use typography, which under the hood requires knowledge of these three individual competencies. Now, in a minute, I'm going to switch to a learner goal. But basically, as you take courses, as you take quizzes, because we can tie individual questions to competencies, those ratings are going to start going up. And you will see you get closer and closer to completing the goal. And it's configurable how you set up completing a goal. It might be you have to master 90% of those competencies in order for that goal to be completed. And of course, behind the scenes, it's all driven by automation. So you can say, when you complete a particular goal, I want to send an automatic letter of congratulations, an example, or I want to assign you a new goal under automation. So let me show you an example of an existing learner who's somewhat through, this is Sally Johnson. Very nice configurable profile pages I mentioned. So Sally is obviously a cat lover. And I'm going to go ahead and log in as Sally. So let's take a look at Sally's version. So this is a learner view. So the learner view doesn't have as much, it's not as busy as the administrator view. And I do want to mention, you can enable and disable almost any feature. So if you don't want groups, disable them. If you don't want learning goals, disable it. So you're not forced to learn to use any particular thing. So one of Sally's goals is, I want to become a digital marketing manager. So I click on this particular goal. And now I can actually see, okay, these are all the competencies, and I can see myself, I've mastered most of them. So if I can just finish off paintings and main tools, I will have reached that particular goal. And you can actually go down to a detailed view. So one of the important things is we want students to know exactly why the system is giving them a particular rating. So I can go down here in details and I can see for logo design, here are all the courses, here are all the assessments, here are all the questions. And you can even click on this to find out the specific assignment and the specific values that will link to that competency. So everything is 100% traceable back to a final value. In addition to this, we're giving them recommendations. So if I click on recommendations here, the system is telling the student, here are the particular things that we recommend in order to complete those final competencies. So we're not going to give recommendations for competencies that you've already mastered. So we're doing an automated gap analysis, and then we're using the recommendations engine to figure out groups, courses, and resources that might help you to get to that goal. And the aggregated recommendations, if you just go down to the goals widget, click on recommendations, these are the total recommendations that are associated with all of your active goals. And goals can be chosen. So if I want to add a new goal, I can just say, hey, I want to add a new goal. I want to add a new job. So let's just say I'm an employee and I'm currently a junior technical support, but I want to become senior technical support. I can go in and select senior technical support, or in this case, software architect. And now that will become a new learning goal. Or if you're in K through 20, you can say, hey, I want to select from a group of competencies. In the world of K through 20, this might be grade 5 biology in Pennsylvania. Or in the world of business, this could be, I want to get good at everything related to color theory in design. So various different kinds of goals, automatic recommendations. And one of the things that I found very cool as being part of the process of designing these features is that we were able to layer these learning goals, which basically support really sophisticated skills development, in a very natural way. It's not like it was a completely new user interface or you had to think differently. You take everything that you're used to, you add this one clean widget, and all this additional functionality starts to emerge. So it wasn't necessarily a predicted outcome, but it sure was a really nice outcome. So I think, I've covered, I think, like the essence. There is so much to go into it. There's, I could bore you to death for the next 5 hours. Going through
I'm super interested. I'm sure everybody else is too. This is great.
But hopefully that'll give you a little taste of, what our system is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Graham, I said this the last time. I just love it. Just absolutely love it. It just takes so much to the next level in not just one feature set, but in 50 feature sets. It's, you just keep pushing it forward, and I couldn't be more of a fan.
I'm actually going to mention 2 other things briefly.
All right, do it.
So one of the cool things that we already have working, but we haven't announced yet, is site-wide e-assessment. So one of the functionalities that we released last year, and it was something that people just kept on asking me about, is at the end of every semester, I want to do an automated survey that goes to all the students. And sometimes it might be restricted. All the students in California taking math, and I want to ask them, what was your experience like? And we could do this with SiteMonkey, but you've got a really nice survey tool. It's got a lot of advanced survey features. Can you make this available as a generalized feature? So sure enough, we've got the surveys feature. You can define catalogs of surveys, time surveys. You can add filters to surveys, automatic analysis. That was a year ago. Then we have people saying, well, if you can do that for surveys, can you do that for quizzes? So I can actually give out a competency-based standardized quiz to all learners in grade 3 math at the end of the semester. And it's an actual full-blown quiz where you can actually see a lot of standard deviations of which are the questions, which are the hardest and which are the easiest. So that's coming out very soon. So it's really nice to have that built-in site-wide filter-based surveys and e-assessments, which can span courses. So it's not limited to people just in a particular course. And you can do surveys of instructors, not just students. So that's one thing I wanted to show. The other thing I wanted to show, and I'm going to have to describe this in words because I haven't actually, let me just, I haven't set it up for the demo. But during the pandemic, one of the things that we wanted to do was to give people a sense of community. And you can see here this little green thing that says no recent activity. When people join the site and start using it, this little widget here starts spinning and it shows you everything that's going on in your course. Johnny just submitted an assignment, Sally just logged in, so-and-so did this. And when you go down into the individual modules, the modules that have activity and people inside them start to glow a little bit as well. So it's a unique feature, and it's something that we did to try and address the lack of community and the sense of isolation that some people get. It's a cool thing. It's not something that I think we're the only LMS that has this, but I wanted to mention it because it's not just all about slicing and dicing and analytics and AI. Some of these things are actually more soft touch, like providing a nice sense of community for your users.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Graham. That's great. Hey, let's double back just a couple for the audience here on target market. So it's obvious K through 20 of any flavor in any part of the world seems to be a target market. How about on the corporate side? Is it for employee learning, customer learning, channel learning, content as a business, all of the above?
Yeah, that's so one of the things that we did is we made the matrix pretty general purpose. And one of the reasons is historic. Like when we first started the system, launched Matrix, we'd get people from all kinds of use cases. We had people who wanted for onboarding, people, training companies, creating courses, selling them to their end users. We had people using it for product training. We had banks using it for employee training. And this is all within, the first month. And so, we looked at our feature set and said, is our feature set really only suitable for a certain niche? And the answer was no, it's actually pretty general purpose. So if you go to the Cypher Learning site, we will have marketing materials that are highly segmented and verticalized, like how to use Matrix for setting up your franchises, how to use Matrix for onboarding, how to use Matrix for training companies that want to create courses that you make money out of. But under the hood, it's actually the same set of functionality. There are some features that we're releasing over the next 6 months that are targeted towards certain verticals. Ones where, yep, we know that if we want to be the best of the best in that one niche, that one feature will really distinguish us. And I'll give you an example of one niche that we're doing incredibly well in that wasn't actually predicted. It wasn't designed for this niche, but it ends up where our feature set is uniquely well, and that is publishing companies. So education publishing companies, what they want to do is they want to create a course, and they want to make it available firstly as a standalone if somebody wants to buy it. They also want to make their course available to their customers, where the customers has a portal that they log on, and they have a customized experience, and they have access to a certain set of courses that they license from the publisher. The publisher wants to be able to make changes to their course templates and synchronize them live to the people who are using them. They also want to be able to sell courses, and they also want those courses to be available in any platform. So if somebody's using a Matrix platform, but the consumer is Schoology, they need that to be able to support it. So there's actually like templates, content synchronization, e-commerce, branded organization portals, and LTI provider support. And we're the only LMS in the world that has all that functionality. So we're actually getting quite a lot of publishing companies now who typically have hundreds of thousands of learners on the system. And they're finding that our feature set is really well tailored to that particular scenario. So it wasn't designed for that. It just so happens that all the features happen to like come together in a beautiful way. So that's a particular vertical that we're doing really well in right now.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Not to put you on a spot, but is there a name drop of an example of like a publisher? Like
like Amco.
Huh?
So Amco is really well known in Latin America. They have hundreds of thousands of users. They specialize in K through 12. And I've met the chairman of Amco. He's like super nice guy, an educator like myself, very, very thoughtful about how do you go about teaching math in a really effective way? How do you go about teaching English in a really effective way, especially online? So they were using one of our competitors. They found it really wasn't doing a great job. They found our system as like, this is an incredible feature set for what we want to do. And they've been a customer for us for years now. But there's one particular example. There's another one that we will probably be able to share with you in a month or so, another very well-known one. But that's just one off the top of my head.
Wow, great. Well, like always, our hour rips by when we get together. So as we approach the end of it, we'll wrap up. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy to come back and update us here on all the progress you made in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, it hasn't even been a year, and all the things that you developed. That's fantastic. So I couldn't be more of a fan. You, as we talked about in the past, there is, you've said it probably 15 times a day. You don't know of anybody that has X, Y, Z. I don't know of anybody that's been successful on both sides of the academic and corporate market, except for your organization. You're blazing new territory. Yeah. And really,
that's why my hair's turning gray so quickly.
Yeah, it's just doing good. You're blazing new territory, and boy, your supposition is spot on. I think that just because the feature sets existed on either side of the fence historically doesn't mean they're not applicable. And the one you didn't mention that I see all the time now is that concept of cohorts that's in academia that's now has moved over into corporate. And so for all those years, there was like the great wall in between those two things. And as you break it down, it's becoming obvious to both sides of the advantages of taking advantage of.
Yeah, and I actually give you. Well, one example that I mentioned is the LTI support. Yeah. So LTI has typically been K through 20 only. Mm-hmm. A majority of business platforms don't support LTI. And but one of the things that we found is the publishers who are Matrix customers, because they are businesses, they love the ability to publish things and have Matrix be an LTI provider, so it be consumed in other platforms. So there's an example where, you know, what other choice is there? These business systems don't even support it, but we do, because the underlying platform is identical.
Mm-hmm. And corporate, and I'll back up that to the corporate LMS providers. A lot of them don't even know the LTI acronym. So yeah. I catch them unaware many times by just saying LTI support, and they're, you know, same with QTI. So it's, you know, there's another area of the world's coming together. Well, anyway, I love it. Keep up the great work. Thanks for updating us. Great to see you.
And one last little teaser, John, is that we're working on some super cool stuff that you would never, ever guess in a million years in our R&D. And I think that in a few months, I might be able to give you an exclusive demo of what we've been working on.
All right. Exclusive to me, or exclusive to me and a few thousand of my friends?
No, you'll be the first to get a public demo of this stuff.
All right. Excellent. I can't wait. I want to be the first. So reach out as soon as it's ready. I love seeing your updates. Audience, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Executive Briefing Series. I'm sure you learned a lot on this one. We'll see you on the next.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. Thanks, John.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you.